Lillian stood on the porch steps, her traveling dress the color of sagebrush after rain, a small carpet bag at her feet, tugging loose strands of auburn hair that had been pinned tight all the way from Pennsylvania. Silas waited at the bottom hat, in his harshest Sunday shirt already showing a ring of sweat at the collar. Even though the morning was cool, he had expected someone who Wells' mirth photograph she sent had been tiny, taken when she was sitting down, so a man could be forgiven for not quite picturing the truth. Lillian was taller than most men back home, holders proud hands that looked like they could milk a cow or cradle a baby with equal ease, and when she spoke her voice carried soft but clear across the yard. It's too big, whispered Ed, looking past him at the house. Silas turned, followed her gaze to the little log place he had built with his own hands 30 years ago. 2 rooms and a loft, a cook stove that threw heat like an angry Malaya, porch just wide enough for 2 rocking chairs. He had never quite finished sanding. He felt his stomach drop all the way from his throat to his boots. No, it ain't much started. I can add on come sprinklers, good pine up on the ridge. I was waiting till Nolian said, stepping down, until she stood right in front of him, close enough that he caught the scent of train smoke and rose water still clinging to her coat. Salosh said, Genelth, house is perfect. It's the bed. He blinked. The bed, repeated like a man who had forgotten English. She nodded, bit her lip the way women do when they're trying not to laugh or cry. Couldn't tell which in the catalog picture you were sitting on. I toned it. Look at well, it looked like it was made for a man who expected a dainty little thing. Silas felt the heat crawl up his neck, remembered that picture had soared 2 inches off the legs so the bed would show in the frame. The quilt his mother made to look nice. Never once thought about the woman who would have to sleep in. ETM 6 foot in my stockings. Lillian continued to was low so the wind wouldn't carry it to the bunkhouse. Me feet are going to hang off the end like a couple of lost puppies. And I didn't come all this way to sleep. Crooked Silas opened his mouth. It Aganthan did the only thing a man could do when faced with honest truth wrapped in kindness. He laughed at a short surprised bark that turned into something warmer. Well, said, I reckon that's the first time a bride ever complained my bed was too small instead of my bank account. Lillian smiled. Denslow and Reland, the morning seemed to brighten around the edges. I brought Chi-Chi said, but they're made for a proper bedknit, a child's coat, and I was hoping Mabe could fix it together. Night. Silas looked at her. Ellie looked at saw the worry she had carried across 3s to testy fear that she would be too tall to plain spoken to everything. He set his hat back on his head, reached out and took the carpet bag from her hand like it weighed nothing. Come one, said I, got a saw and a draw knife and a whole stack of lodgepole out back. We'll make that bed big enough for both of yous, and if your feet still hang off, I'll build you a little bench for the end. Call it a foot. Warmly felt something loosen in her chest, something she had been holding since the day her father said no man wants a woman taller than he is. You don't mind, she asked. Silas echoed. Lillian, I've been sleeping alone in that bed for 12 years. It's been too big the whole time, just waiting for the right woman to come along and fill it proper. He started toward the bath and stopped. It turned back. One more thing, Sadium 6'1" in my boots, and I still got to duck under the doorway, so if we're making the bed longer, might as well raise the lintel too. I'm tired of cracking my head every time I carry in firewood. Lillian laughed. Thina sound like church bells after a long winter, and followed him across the yard. They worked all morning side by side, her holding the pine boards, steady sawing and planning, shavings curling like yellow ribbons around their feet. By noon the frame was taller, wider built for long legs and longer years. They wrestled the rope bed back together. Her sheets, the color of fresh cream, and stood back to look at. Swallowed. The room took up nearly every inch of floor, but when they lay down to test Ithides on the same pillow, her feet stayed right where they belonged. Danda's arm found the curve of her waist like it had been waiting decades for the map effect. She whispered into the quiet silence, pressed his face into her hair, breathed in rosewater and pine dust. And tomorrow welcome home, Mrs. Caldwell said, and for the first time since she stepped off the train, Lillian believed she truly was. The first winter came early that year. Snow piling soft against the new taller doorframe. And the bed they built together stood proud in the middle of the room like it had always belonged there. Lillian woke before dawn most mornings, way women do when they're still proving they're useful. She would slide from under the quilts, careful not to wake Silas. Pad barefoot across the wide pine floorboards to stir the fire. And by the time the coffee bubbled, he was already behind her, arms circling her waist. Chin resting on the top of her head. Because finally he didn't have to bend. You're too tall to sneak proper. He'd grumble, sleepy and warm, and she would lean back into him. Feel the steady drum of his heart against her shoulder. Bladdy, and know she had grown exactly into the space meant for her. Spring brought mud and calves and letters from back east. Her sister Ruth writing in careful scootature script. Asking if the West had tamed her yet. If she missed streetcars and Saturday matinees. Lillian would sit at the kitchen table. Silas's long legs stretched out beside her, and answer in her plain honest way, the only thing tamed around here is the bed. And even that took 2 of us. Years slipped by gentle as creek water. The bed frame darkened with handling. The sheets wore thin in all the right places, and every night they lay down in it. 2 long bodies fitting together like matched bookends. Her feet no longer hunting for somewhere to go. His arms no longer reaching across an empty ocean of quilt one summer evening in their 10th year. Silas came in from the north pasture, hat hanging down his back by the stampede, string dust on his boots and a strange quiet in his eyes. Lillian was shelling peas on the porch, her hair now threaded with silver that caught the sunset like frost on sage. She watched him climb the steps slow, sit beside her without a word, and take the bowl from her hand so he could hold them instead. "What is it?" she asked, soft. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a little cedar. A box, opened it to show a plain gold ring bigger than the one he had given her the day they married, because her hands had grown stronger with chores and children and living. "I measured while you were asleep," he said, been saving nickels from the calf sales. Figured 10 years was long enough to sleep beside a woman without giving her something that fits the life we grew into. Lillian felt her throat close way it still did when he surprised her with kindness. She slipped the new ring on, watched it settle perfect above the old 1-2 circles telling the same story twice. Silas cleared his throat. Looked out over the fields turning gold in the low light. "Remember the first night?" he said. "You whispered it's too big, and I thought you meant the ranch, the sky, the quiet, everything out here that swallows little folks whole. I was afraid you'd wake up one morning, and decide you needed smaller again." Lillian turned his face to hers, saw the worry he had carried silent all these years, the same worry she had carried on the train, that she would be too much or not enough. "Silas Caldwell," she said clear and steady, "the day I stepped off that train I stopped wanting smaller. You gave me room to stand tall, and I have never once looked back." She leaned in, kissed him slow and certain. Tasted coffee and honest work in the man who saw her coming and built anyway. Later, when the stars hung low and bright as promises, they lay in the bed that had grown with them, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing the years along her shoulder. "Listen," he whispered into the dark. She did heard the wind in the cottonwoods, an owl calling down by the creek, the soft creak of the ropes under their weight, and under it all, the quiet, steady sound of two hearts, no longer measuring, no longer afraid. "It's just right," she answered, and outside the wide Montana sky stretched on forever, big enough for both of them and the life they had made side by alongside in a bed that finally perfectly fit.